Sideways is the name of the game. That's basically what it is, because Bitcoin is just trending between this 46,000 level and this 49,000 level. And every time it gets to 49,000, we all believe it's going to break out. And every time it gets to 46,000, we all believe it's going to go down. So today, being Friday, we have a panel of experts who are going to tell us what they think Bitcoin is going to do for the rest of the year. There's only 2 weeks left of the year. And then we're going to look at what Bitcoin is going to do in the new year. We're also going to look at the biggest trends that these guys are expecting for 2022, because today is Friday. And on Fridays, we have our big banter. So kids, class is in session. Let's get this done.
It's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man. It's all about the DJ, baby. Uncle Ren's in charge. He's a crypto star. So savvy what he say. Fast money like a sports car. He's all about the DJ life. Make some money, change your wife. Big calls on the old coins for the bull market hype. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man ran. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man ran. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man. Crypto man ran. Crypto banter. You got crypto questions, they got crypto answers. Jean-Claude Van Damme of the Banter fam. Could he kick it? Yes, he can. Can he kick it? Yes, he can. Crypto man ran. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man ran. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man ran. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man.
What have they done to my song?
I don't know.
What have they done to my song? I'm going to have a chat to the team here. Crazy. Banter fam, welcome back. I'm Crypto Man Run. This is my last banter with you for this year, and it's going to be an unbelievable banter. So, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, join the Banter fam. There are so many advantages of being part of the Banter fam. If you're new, subscribe. If you've been here for a while, like this video, get this content out there. It is going to be a massive show. Before we do get to the show today, I do want to say that the Banter bags are growing every single day. And remember, the Banter bags are a bunch of tokens that we put into an address for you guys. When we get to 700,000 subscribers, we're going to give those bags away to the community. I'm actually going to start giving away some of those giveaways today. So we'll start giving away the Banter bags today. We'll start choosing the winner. When we get to 5,000 likes, then we start giving away the Banter bags. We also have a new token in the Banter bags, and that is a token called Crypto Fight Club. So this is a new token. We got $3,000. They gave us $3,000 of IDO tokens at 2 cents, and they put those into the Banter bags. They also did, this was a Polkadot IDO, and they raised $250,000 in a matter of minutes. So this one should be unbelievable. Another little addition into our Banter bags. We'll choose the first Banter bags winner today. What do you say, guys? Yes. Come on, last day of the year, last Banter of the year. We've got to do it. Also, if you didn't watch our show earlier today, you should go and watch it, because I showed you guys how you can make money, crypto, how you can get tokens from an A-grade crypto project in the most addictive way possible for free. So you have fun and you get free tokens just for using the platforms. Here's how it works for those of you who didn't watch. There is a social media platform that has just launched. It's decentralized. It's called BBS. It looks like Reddit and it feels like Reddit. The only thing is that every single post here is an NFT. And when people post, effectively, you can buy or you can bid on their NFTs. So I can take this NFT from someone who has, and I can bid over here for the NFT. And if I bid for the NFT from now until the end of time, I get revenue every time that post is accessed or engaged with. And so what they call it engagement mining. And specifically, what they've done is they've given 2.5% of the tokens to early adopters and early engagement miners, which is why I'm bringing this to you guys now. We have 3 channels on BBS. We have bbs.market/banter. That is the Banter one. We also then have BBS market/charts, and that's the one for charting. And the last one that we have is bbs.market/C gaming, which is our crypto gaming forum. And you can see that I started this morning with you guys. This account's already got $156 worth of tokens. And this account's got $100 worth of tokens. And that's just because I've been interacting with and buying and selling other people's NFT posts on this thing. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's free. You don't have to connect. You don't need a MetaMask. You don't have to put in any money. There's no gas fees. You just have to interact. And because you're interacting so early, you're going to get tokens. You're going to get free tokens in this thing. That's a guarantee. It's a guaranteed free token giveaway for people who engage early. All right, let's do it. Trust me, do it. Let's look at the markets and let's get this show on the road. I guess the name of the game is sideways. It's just sideways. It's boring and it's sideways. Even the biggest names in the game, so people like Will Clemente, comes out and says, 2 of these charts have me feeling cautious and 2 of these charts have me feeling optimistic. I mean, that's not really what you want to hear. Like, he's looking at 4 charts, the on-chain cost basis, the SOPR, the supply shock ratio, and the open interest dominance. And he's saying, well, 2 of them make me feel positive and 2 of them make me feel negative. And then you've got Suzu, who says, it's hard to be bearish when the BTC and e-supply and exchanges is going to fresh lows. SoLunAvax. That's a good token. That's my token of the year, is SoLunAvax. That's my 2021 token of the year, is SoLunAvax. SoLunAvax showing majestic strength, large asset allocators in the world aligned with crypto thesis, tourists and short-term oriented investors are flushed out. And then you've got a whole lot of Tether sitting on exchanges. In fact, the highest that it's been in over 6 months, which kind of feels like people are ready to press the trigger. That's it. Question is, why then is Bitcoin moving sideways? Has it got something to do with the inflation narrative? And if we look at the inflation narrative, the US markets, the Dow Jones down 219 points, which is 0.6%. You've got the US tech futures down another 1% today. Is this all about inflation and curbing inflation? Well, the truth is, I don't know. But we do have 3 experts right here with us today for our Friday banter who do know, and we're going to bring them on. So we've got our good friend Vinny. Welcome back, bro.
Thanks, Ron. Good to be here, as always.
Good, and we've got Jose from Delphi. Jose, welcome, bro.
Hey, guys. Good to be here.
And then we've got one guest who is already back at McDonald's. He's given up, thrown in the towel. His name is Daniele Sesta. You probably all know him from Abracadabra, from Magic Internet Money, from Wonderland, and from all the other projects that he's involved in. And here he is, but he's working back at McDonald's. Welcome, man.
Hello, frogs. Hi, everyone.
Hello, frogs. Hello, everyone. I'm actually going to start with you, Danielle, because I asked you what do you think the market's going to do in the next month, just as we logged onto this session. And you said something quite interesting to me. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm tired of one day ordering a Big Mac and the other day I'm eating a steak. Like, this thing, chopping like this is not very healthy for me. But I have this feeling that this is the last chop, like it's the last opportunity. Chop usually means that a lot of leverage positions get washed out. So it means that people that are here for just speculating and are not investor get wrecked very easily, especially in these moves, because they tend to leverage or over leverage. And you can see that the borrowing rates are going down. There is not so much leverage in the market, but still we are holding a very high price of Bitcoin. Like, we don't have to forget that we have a Bitcoin at $46,000. Let's remember where we was last year, sirs. Like, we were not definitely even at all-time high, right, at this time. So we are talking about a very positive year. Additionally, I have been looking a lot on inflation, and inflation is pretty much done and calculated by the consumer index. So every country is a little bit different in how it calculates this consumer basket index. But if you look at the commodities and like coffee, grain, like rice prices, and all of this worldwide, we have seen that has risen by a lot. Like, for example, iron, copper. Yes,
coffee has doubled.
Copper, all things that materials that at the end of the day are used to create these basic consumer index products, right? But the consumer index product has not risen more than 5%, which is interesting. So we never seen this before, and there is a whole thesis that the dollar cannot collapse, like the world is reliant on the dollar, and basically the bombs of the United States of America keep the inflation away, sort of thing. But this has been reflecting into the stock market, and I would argue that the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq and the rise that we had during the last year that has been quite high. In reality, it's not so high because I think the inflation is higher than that. So
well, I mean, if you look at the US stock market. The US stock market up, I think, 100% in the last year. I'm just going to try and get it for us here, but I think it's about 100% in the last year. Let me quickly just try and refresh that. But
yeah, what I was trying to say is that we tend to price in, like investors tend to price in inflation before the data because they overlook at the market in a more broader way, right? So they have been buying and trying to protect their US dollar value over with stocks. And on the other hand, Bitcoin, which is a scarce supply asset, which is a very strong brand, if you think about it, like it's the number one brand absolutely in the crypto space because it has the largest holders, the largest amount of people know Bitcoin everywhere in the world, right? Has not been performing as it should be, right? So I think that.
But why do you think it's going to change tomorrow? Because I want to try and understand. I think we all know the thesis for it, and the inflation thesis, and everything else. But why do you think it's going to change tomorrow?
Oh, because I think that we want to see like a closing of the week, and this is like the last closing of the week for a lot of traders, and the Friday is usually like the last day in which I was expecting we were going down, to be honest. Yesterday, I was telling my friends that I have orders around in between 46,000 to 44,500 buying. And next week, we just start being positive again. Like, let's not forget that people takes profit. Like, everybody this year has been like a little bit into all the Corona mood. Like, if you look at families, for example, have been saving money all year, even though like there has been so much printing of money everywhere. So my thesis is that people were very conservative for a while because we didn't know what was going to happen about Corona, about all the global situation. So families and in general people have been saving money, but now it's time to spend money, and the inflation will pick up with the spending. Because if you don't spend the money that has been printed, then the inflation doesn't come in. But the investors will still buy the iron ore or the copper or the wood.
Dan, I want to speak a lot about inflation. We're going to bring it up in a few minutes. I just want to get a thesis from the other guys quickly before we carry on. Vinny, what's your thesis between now and, say, the end of year and maybe into the first quarter of next year?
So the global macro situation is still playing out. I mean, the Fed's tapering back the bond buying right now, and then they're threatening rate hikes next year. The reason this is part of the crypto's conversation right now is that there's still a strong correlation between the financial markets and the crypto markets for now. And the reason for that is that a lot of excess liquidity, when people have it, they go buy crypto, and there's obviously a movement into crypto. But fundamentally, there will be a dislocation between these two over time for a fundamental reason. Inflation on a global scale is much higher than is being reported, which, like, we know this. And so governments around the world, because of COVID, have been printing money everywhere in the world to basically prevent. There's actually two reasons. One is obviously the economies are being shut down because of COVID to a large degree. But the second thing is that they can't afford their currencies to get stronger than the dollar either. So when the US is printing money, they've got to follow suit and do something similar. And the reason for that is that if the US dollar gets too weak, you can't export to the US. If you're a European car manufacturer and the dollar depreciates, 10% to 15%, you can't sell your car for more US dollars. You got to keep the same price in dollars, but now you're earning less and you're actually looking a little bit weaker in terms of financially. So these are the problems that it's a very complex picture. Now, let me get to the point. The point is this macro situation is going to play out, and you're going to have a bit of a decoupling between the crypto markets and the financial markets in the next 12 months, especially as we're looking at probably 1 to 2 rate hikes. I know the Fed's threatening 3. But why? The question, why? The reason is exactly because like all the major crypto. So just take a step back. 90% of crypto market cap sits in the top 10 or 15 or whatever it is. Okay, top 20. Most of it's there, and most of those coins are actually pretty good quality coins. And Bitcoin, Ethereum obviously hold the lion's share of it. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana hold the majority of it. So you can take out the speculative part of it. Those coins have fixed supply unit, and even if Ethereum doesn't become fixed supply and it's still infinite inflation, it's a very low rate of inflation. Now you contrast that to literally 180 plus countries in the world that keep printing money. What's going to happen? Eventually this peg is going to break, and the financial markets and crypto markets go 2 different ways. Where the financial markets, you just keep printing money, but in the crypto markets, you cannot keep printing crypto. So what happens? Price rises. Simple as that.
Okay, so I understand this whole inflation thesis. I think we're all too obsessed with this inflation thesis. I think that the whole crypto world they have become a bunch of economists. So we're all speculating about what the Fed's going to do. And to be honest, when I think about it, the only real token that should be affected by what the Fed's going to do is Bitcoin, because that is a direct correlation to inflation and printing money and too much money supply. Bitcoin is made as that store of value. But then I look at things like Ethereum, and I look at things like Luna, and I look at things like Avalanche. And that, for me, is a venture capital investment into technology that's going to absolutely change the world. Okay, so you've got, why does those have to be correlated to an inflation game? Why are we all playing economists? David Sachs said it very smartly this week. He said, investors are spending too much time worrying about the Fed and the Washington narrative, and they're forgetting that what they're actually investing in is technologies that are about to change the world. And that really isn't that affected by the market cycle. The Fed has to do what it has to do to slow down the economy slightly because inflation's running rampantly out of control, right?
Well, so Ron, there's a bit of the issue here is that, like, for example, Bitcoin is the major trading pair, the major non-US dollar trading pair for Ethereum and other cryptos. So Bitcoin weakness basically trickles down into the entire crypto ecosystem, and all the bots that are running, basically, market makers and bots, basically arbing these movements back and forth. So you've got a lot of liquidity running across all the Bitcoin trading pairs out there. So Bitcoin weakness really means weakness across crypto, regardless of the fact that they're technologies. It doesn't matter. The financial side of the crypto markets means these trading pairs provide liquidity, and when liquidity dries up in Bitcoin, or it goes down in Bitcoin, it affects everything else. It's a cascading impact. And that's the reason why. So you can't say, I mean, I agree with Sachs, but it's all tied to Bitcoin. I guarantee you right now, if Bitcoin dumped to 30K tomorrow, everything dumps with it. We all know this. And in some cases, most cases, everything else will dump at a higher percentage. The beta is higher. So
I get that. Yeah, I get that.
So it's linked, okay? And it's linked because the on-ramp for fiat into crypto is more than the Bitcoin dominance ratio. So if you look at Bitcoin dominance at 43%, I guarantee you more than 43% of every dollar going into crypto worldwide right now is Bitcoin. And that's kind of where it is.
So what's your thesis for the rest of this year and the beginning of next year?
I don't really have I don't think I have a great short-term take, because I just don't really care that much about the short-term price movement. Like, I think the macro stuff, again, I'm not a macro investor, but like I dug into it because, as you said, everyone has to be a macro investor these days. And my sort of conclusion is they have to keep increasing the money supply, right? There's like no way to get rid of this debt. The only other way is deflation, which would be painful for everyone, and arguably impossible, right? And with demographics and like the debt that's coming in and healthcare obligations and all this stuff, it's just impossible for them not to keep inflating and keep printing more money. And so number go up, I think, for everything else that makes sense, especially like Bitcoin and also like venture capital stuff that has cash flows far in the future, people will have to go further out on the risk curve. And I think like there's no better place to be than crypto for me in my mind. And like having been here since the previous bubble, like in 2017, we're in a completely different place, right? Like looking around, there was just so much crap out there. Like there was a lot of vaporware projects. Now we have like scalable layer ones. We have like layer twos coming online with Starkware and stuff like that. We have so many legit builders in the space. People like Justin Kahn coming back into entrepreneurship to start NFT marketplaces on Solana. Like everyone we talk to from the traditional world wants exposure. It wants to build stuff. Like Web3 is capturing everyone's imagination. I just think like focusing on the short term price is just like a waste of time when you can kind of be looking at the tech and what's happening and what's being built.
Exactly. So let's put aside the macroeconomic discussion, because I think between the four of us, no one here is an economist, and what we know that the Fed is probably going to be responsible in their actions.
Economists don't know either, right? Like
exactly.
Economists know less than everyone else. Like you see them, like inflation's transitory, inflation's not going to happen. Krugman, like they're the worst. They have no skin in the game, so it's just like, yeah. But
I mean, so let's not be economists and say we don't really care about the macroeconomy. We've got to assume that the macroeconomy is going to keep pumping. We don't think that the Fed is going to cause any major corrections. Money is going to keep being printed. Let's look beyond that and actually be tech investors for now. And I guess that Suzu said it very well. He said SoLunAvax is showing majestic growth. So I guess that's something that talks to all of us. But the one thing that I've really seen is this Avalanche narrative, which is taking off. It seems like almost like Avalanche is the, what do you call it? The Solana, the new Solana, in terms of where the retail investors are flying. I picked up an article here, which I think is pretty interesting. It says, it comes from a guy called Sapien. It says, it's science, L1 number go up, but who's actually gaining market share here? BSC is beating TVL to AVAX, and Solana AVAX in particular is racing ahead. Its TVL share is nearly 50% in the last 30 days. The article goes on, talks about all of this, shows the total value locked, shows the performance of the DEXs. What is it about Avalanche that's got everybody flying towards Avalanche now? Jose, I don't know if you want to take that. I know Delphi have been talking about it quite a bit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that chart misses out Luna, which is actually the third biggest by TVL, which is a pretty important like omission. I mean, we're long AVAX, we're long Solana, we're long Luna, so we've been and have been for a while. I think AVAX has some really interesting tech. Obviously, like scalability at the base layer, although not as much as Solana. And also kind of some level of composability with the C chain and stuff. A lot of innovation happening there. So yeah, I mean we're interested in AVAX. I think what we're most interested right now in terms of the next things that are going to happen are, first of all, Luna. Obviously, we have a big position in, and also incubating a bunch of projects on there. And I think that ecosystem is going to take off, especially as kind of stablecoin regulation comes in. And then also layer twos like Starkware, which I think are close to being like the end game for crypto in terms of scalability and security on the base layer. So yeah, I mean, those are kind of the areas that we're most looking at right now.
If you wanted to invest in layer 2 Ethereum, and specifically you wanted to invest in layer 2 Ethereum ZK rollups, you mentioned Starkware, but you can't invest in Starkware at the moment. How would you invest? Because I mean, most of the people that are watching the show are going, yeah, that's great. We bought into the narrative. We've done a whole lot of shows this week, if in fact, on the narrative. How would you get exposure to it? Would you get exposure through things like Polygon and Matic? Would you dig deeper? Would you start doing the ZK link, ZK sync airdrops? How would you invest? What would you do?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's really not much way to get exposure right now. Starkware is private. ZK Sync is might be doing a token soon, but no one really knows. So I think the best way is to kind of get involved in the ecosystem, start seeing stuff that's being built on them. So I mean, Zigzag is one that's being built. It's like a order book exchange being built on ZK Sync and on Starkware. I think providing liquidity, it's a really high level team as well. I think providing liquidity there and start getting involved is definitely a good trade-off. And just starting to talk to the builders and seeing what's being built on there and figuring out where to provide liquidity and also like being in for when these rounds start to happen. So I think there's going to be a lot of cool applications launching on these layer twos. And the cool thing about them is I think at the beginning with any new ecosystem, and it's kind of what we're seeing with AVAX and Solana as well, people just like port over from Ethereum, right? Like they do an AMM on Solana, or they do an Aave, the Aave on AVAX or whatever. And I think what's really interesting is when people start to build stuff that could only exist on these new platforms, right? On layer 2. So thinking about like what stuff is there that actually could only exist on layer 2 because it's not possible to do with layer 1 scalability. Because there's a lot of stuff like AMMs where the design is very much based on just layer 1 gas limits, right? Like that's why that design kind of picked up. And so thinking through like, how does this end up being on layer 2? What does it end up looking like? And starting to speak to the teams and stuff is a good way. But I think right now it's tough to get direct exposure, to be honest.
Daniel, what do you think of the ETH layer 2 narrative? Do you think that that's a good narrative to be looking at now?
Well, I think I would start a little bit with Avalanche because I think our project made Avalanche what is it today. I mean, the retail has come to Avalanche because of Wonderland. Before the launch of Wonderland, there was no retail-friendly anything. And pretty much all the activity and trading that is happening on Avalanche at the moment or on Trader Joe or any other exchanges through our application. Second, the number one traded stable coin on Avalanche is Magic Internet Money. Yeah, that is also one of my projects with Abracadabra. And that is also because of, I think, because of the partnership and the ecosystem benefits that we generate on having multiple projects on multiple chains, right? And the fact that Magic Internet Money can be traded without any cost cross-chain and moved across Phantom, Arbitrum, Ethereum, and Avalanche for free and directly has been like a big, important part of this multi-chain narrative. Also, everybody might know that we sold the top of Avalanche. We sold $145 million worth of AVAX at around $120 per token.
Would you be buying it back now?
Well, we still have the largest position of Avalanche around in this conversation for sure, because we have more than $250 million still worth of AVAX. So we are, in general, directional. So I believe that the whole narrative of layer 1 is a little bit of a speculative narrative because there is no fundamentals. What is the fundamental of a layer 1? It's just a narrative of saying, because Solana is worth X, then Avalanche should be worth Y, and Phantom should be worth Z, and so on. Correlation in between TVL, and TVL is pretty much like fully diluted value, a complete meme, in my opinion, because what is TVL? Like is people folding USDC with DAI and so on and saying like, oh, okay, there is $8 billion in this chain. Yeah, I put a capital of 500 million, I folded 10 times, I made 5 billion TVL, but I'm not doing any real activity right there, right? So we need to, I believe that Avalanche is very good because we have seen that with the good application layer, retail has found good onboarding ways to arrive into layer 1s very easily. This is very important for the general crypto thesis, in my opinion. So it means that by having Coinbase Wallet, MetaMask, mobile solution, Trust Wallets, and all the gateways and the ways in which they can buy in their direct token, it's working very well. So the average normal person coming from TikTok or coming from YouTube is capable of buying $100, $200, $500 worth, and is not, the barrier of entry has been lowered by a lot. On the other hand, I think that we are still very early. Like on Wonderland, we have around like 200,000 plus participants into the DAO, making it the largest DAO in the world, and about $750 million worth of asset under management in the DAO, which is very interesting. I think that these collectives are very powerful, and layer 2 in the same way is also very interesting. Like Arbitrum, all the activity is done by Magic Internet.
Before we go to layer 2, on layer 1, when you talk about layer 1s, I know you're involved in multiple layer 1s, but if I were to say to you, right now, you've got, you're an investor, you've got $10,000 to invest. Which layer 1 do you invest in? Which layer 1s do you invest in? How do you break up the $10,000?
I personally would invest. I think it's missing Phantom, for example, into the equation. I think Phantom is constantly liked and forgotten, which is something that I don't know why. But in reality, if you look into the activity of the chain, it's very good. There is a good community on it.
Okay, so how much of the $10,000 do you put into Phantom?
I would put 20% into Phantom.
And the rest?
20% into Avalanche. I would put another 30% into Luna. I've been working with DAO1 a lot, and we have created the largest and the deepest liquidity for UST with Magic Internet Money on Ethereum. So finally, it's tradable. Like before we started collaborating, there was no way in which you could actually have or buy 100 million worth of UST. There was no way, unless you had Luna arbitrager. All my friends were like, "How can I arb this?" And I'm like, "You can't. You're wrecked." So now there is more than 1 billion on Curve.
So it's a 20% Phantom, 20% Phantom, 20% Avalanche, 30% Luna. You said, right?
Yes. Yes.
And okay, so then the other 30%?
The other 30%, I would divide it in between Ethereum and Solana.
Okay. Vinny, $10,000 to invest in Layer 1 or Ethereum Layer 2. Where do you put your money?
Depends on your risk profile. I mean,
I'm talking about Vinny's risk profile.
Personally, I'm a big fan of like single. I take a thesis on a certain area, and I'll put most of it in one, and then I'll spread out a little bit. So in this case, it would be 80% in Solana, and then 20%, like maybe 4 chunks of 5 and other things, just in case. But I have a high conviction, obviously, for Solana. I've had for a long time.
But it keeps breaking, Vinny. It keeps breaking. Right. Over the last 24 hours, more than 60% of all Solana transactions have failed. That's right. A $50 billion top 5 market capitalization is losing 2,000 transactions every second. He says, just switch it off. Okay, now, granted, when you click on...
Is it Maxi or Bitcoin Maxi?
He's a Bitcoin Maxi, yes. I get it. I'm just saying there is something in what he's saying.
Well, okay, so then why tell me, why doesn't the price reflect that?
I agree with you, but I mean...
Why are we still sitting at $168 Solana with all these transactions failing, right?
No, I agree. I'm an investor in Solana. I'm asking you, though, I mean, it does keep breaking. I mean, should we be losing hope?
No. So look, this is crypto, right? And it's not in Web 2.0. This is similar to the Twitter fail whale scenario in 2009 or 10 or whatever it was, right? You couldn't write Twitter off at that point just because they're having some scaling issues and growth issues. These are growing pains. Solana is the fastest network out there, lowest finality. I mean, look, it's. I think it's going to be the winner. I think it's going to be Ethereum. I think it's going to become, maybe even a challenger to Bitcoin one day. But it's definitely going to take over Ethereum, in my opinion. And so not
even Luna. I mean, you're talking about putting 80% of your money in Solana, 5% into 4 others. You wouldn't put a big chunk of your money into Luna, seeing the growth in TVL, seeing the growing ecosystem. I must say that
I didn't say I wouldn't do Luna. I said I'd do I'd maybe do 5% Avalanche, 5% in Luna. I'd have to look at the other list. I probably wouldn't put anything in Ethereum. To be honest, I don't think.
And Ethereum Layer 2, like things like if you could invest in Ethereum Layer 2.
I'm not Layer 2. I mean, the reason why. Look, when I met with Anatoly in 2018, and we invested in Solana back then, the reason Anatoly and I really got along was we both did not believe in Layer 2, and we were like, okay, this is great, and I was like, well, let's get behind Solana. That was it. I don't believe in Layer 2. I think it's silly. And look, people can argue it both ways. I think it extracts economic value from Layer 1. And that's a problem. So I think it takes away from the security of the network. And this has been my argument about Lightning for years. If Lightning succeeds, it basically is a security threat to Bitcoin in the long term, because the economic value transfers to Layer 2. And so, I'm an old school database guy. I studied this stuff in the 90s and did information systems. And when it came to things like sharding, when it came to things like checkpoints and databases, like Layer 2 is basically destroying the point of a blockchain, in my personal opinion. I think it's like pointless. Like the whole point of a blockchain, you have these atomize these assets that can be moved around on a single layer. And layer 2, you basically you might as well create databases of checkpoints.
Okay, Jose, $10,000 to invest today. You got to break it up. Now, I'm actually quite interested in your answer because I know that you're invested in Avalanche. I know that you're invested in Solana. I know that you're invested in Luna, and I think that you like ETH Layer 2 as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, again, like different risk profiles and stuff. My personal risk profile and like what I'm doing right now, I'm like 80% plus in Luna, and less exposure to the others. I mean, I think they represent like very different bets. Like Ethereum, I think is a completely different risk profile than the others in terms of it is way more de-risked now. I think the layer 2 argument is interesting. Like the reason we initially went cross-chain, and like Rune was actually our first investment, was in the cross-chain thesis back in like 2019, was because we kind of saw this layer 2 thing happening, and we were like, layer 2 breaks composability, right? And so at that point, if you're going to go onto Optimism or onto Arbitrum anyway, you might as well go to another chain. Like for a user, it's the same, right? They don't care really if they're on Ethereum or on somewhere else, as long as the transactions are fast and cheap. And so we realized that would open up the sort of opportunity for other chains to come in. And so we're super bullish on that thesis, but like I think it's hard to have certainty on the future. And I think one challenge with like Solana and the idea that everything can sit on one chain is that like demand for compute is like infinite. You know, the cheaper it gets, the more demand goes up, and like a single stock market does sort of like, you know, a ridiculous amount of transactions per second. And so will Solana be able to host both the world's stock market with something like Serum and also, you know, the world's gaming infrastructure and also the NFT marketplace? And so I think that's where some like there's some different architectures that can make sense. So for instance, like one that we're interested in is just the idea of modular blockchains with something like Cosmos, right? Where you have, rather than trying to build everything into one, you have like these specialized blockchains that each do their own thing. So Terra is a stable coin and DeFi blockchain, right? And then you'd have one that's an NFT blockchain. And then they have a communication layer, which is IBC, which allows them to be composable. And so you get composability that way, right? And then I think another view of the world, which we're super interested in, is Celestia, which is a layer 1 that's coming out soon, which is just the idea that you accept that nothing can happen on one chain. Actually, layer 2s are the future. And so you build a layer 1 that's just optimized to just host proofs, right? So it's like no execution happens on layer 1, which is kind of what's going to happen with Ethereum, right? If layer 2s succeed, and assuming proof of stake and sharding doesn't work, which we're not super bullish on, layer 1 will just be literally like a bunch of proofs, right? And then all the execution happens on layer 2, and there's just these proofs being sent back to layer 1. And so if you think that's the case, then you can build it differently and kind of optimize it for the beginning so that layer 1 is just like a data availability layer. So what I'm saying is like there's all these different bets about what you think, like how you think these things can turn out. And I think it's really hard to see the future. Like Solana has the advantage if everything happens on one place, you have this composability, but is that possible, right? Or does it just get too congested? And do you need specialization, at which point Cosmos makes sense? Or is it like neither of those are make sense because you don't get the scalability, so you need this layer 2 first world, in which case it's like, does Celestia win because they have a better architecture, or does Ethereum win because they have all the developers already, right? And all the network effect and stuff like that. And so it just wins, like kind of like how
I have two questions here. And I mean, the one question is more of a statement, but I haven't heard anybody talking about Polkadot. Polkadot's first 5 parachains are going live on Saturday, I think. Is it Saturday? It's in the next day or two. Why isn't anybody excited about Polkadot and Kusama?
Well, hang on, Ron. I mean, we didn't even, like, no one even said anything about Cardano either. So, you know,
I'm not going down this rabbit hole again.
No, I think like when it comes to Polkadot, Cardano, there's Near, there's Casper, there's a whole slew of these like layer 1s that are actually really, really interesting that a lot of people like. I think that what we're seeing right now is, look, I agree with Jose on so many levels here, but I will say that I think that we move to a multi-coin world, a multi-chain world, where there's Solana it's probably not going to be a winner take all. It's probably going to be, you know, maybe Ethereum, Solana taking 50-60%, and then you have this like fragmentation. The next 30% gets taken up by 4 or 5 chains, because there's still a bunch of like, you know, ideological views on blockchains for now, and so this is going to play out over a decade. I mean, I think that I think you're going to have this like hyper fragmented blockchain world, and also a lot of the things that happen on these chains, because it's the early days, there's going to be a lot of entrenchment that happens. So whether it's NFTs or systems that get developed on top of certain blockchains, people aren't going to move this until we get better at chain migration, which is still hard.
Okay.
And there's another network that hasn't launched yet. You got like Songbird, which is the canary network for Flare, same as Kusama and Polkadot. And Songbird and Flare uses Avalanche's protocol to some extent as well. So you've got all these like derivations of existing layer one innovations coming out. It's one big global experiment. We don't know how this stuff plays out. Anyone who thinks they do is just lying. We don't know.
Okay, what about if I phrase the question like this? We're at the end of 2021. There's 2 weeks left in 2021, and Ethereum is the number 2 coin, right? As far as Ethereum is the number 2 coin, and I think BSC is the number 3 coin, or Tether is the number 3 coin. Let me just quickly. It's BSC, and then it's Tether that's number 4. If I fast forward this to end of 2022, which is 12 months from now, which is the number 2 coin and which is the number 3 coin?
I'd say Solana and Ethereum. Solana is number 2 and Ethereum is number 3.
Daniel, what do you think?
This is very funny. You should invite me more in this type of conversation.
That's what I did. Yeah, I invited you.
I love it. First, 1 second. Sorry if I take a second, but I think we are missing one scenario that is maybe the technology is already there, in which everything can already work very well. It's just that nobody gives a shit about building, and is just focused on making the price go up. That is another scenario in which we are figuring it out right now, because it looks like a lot of people saying, oh, but you do a lot of things, you build a lot of things, but things are quite easy to build. The difference is that there is nobody that is willing to take that risk on putting his face on and say, okay, I'm going to build a DEX that has an order book that works already very well on a layer 2 or whatever. And how I see all these blockchains is that we are investing in ISP providers. Like if you're buying Solana, it's like you're buying Verizon, or you're buying some sort of like internet company like Vodafone. You know, like everybody will have his own clientele. Everybody will have his own target market and his geographical market too. Like Solana, I feel like is becoming like an American blockchain. Polygon, Matic is becoming more of an Indian, Southeast Asia blockchain, you know, and so on. So if you start thinking about this as basically telephone telcos, or just layers in which people can communicate and connect to the world of blockchain, then you see a world that is absolutely cross-chain, because I can call you even if you are on Verizon from Vodafone. You know, even if I'm in the UK, I can still give you a call or send you an SMS. It doesn't matter.
What do you need for that? Is it bridges, or is it a world where we have much faster bridges? Because that's not how it works today. I mean, today, if you want to take money from, I don't know, Ethereum to any other chain, you need to have a doctor's degree to do that.
No. Come on, man. Like, it's not so difficult. I believe that, yeah, I agree that user experience-wise, shit. Like this, I agree with you. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't work, right? Like if we focus on building things that are actually nice and clean, and it's the same as the Avalanche kind of ecosystem thing that we talked before. Like consumers are going to Avalanche because it's easier to buy AVAX, put it on a Coinbase wallet, and buy something that they want, right? But I guarantee you, like right now, you can be on Ethereum and you can send magic internet money to Phantom, and then from Phantom you can send it all the way to Avalanche directly in one click. And I tell you, like the world, like Serum, for example, if Serum was built in an EVM way and it was right now deployed on like ZK Sync or Arbitrum even, if Arbitrum would be cheaper, would be nice, but that's another story. But like imagine a world in which instead of having the YDX in which you deposit directly from Ethereum USDC, you can just in one click in wherever chain you are on Solana, you USDT. In one click, you deposit towards a layer 2 order book exchange, and you can do whatever you want. And another guy comes from Avalanche and does the same with AVAX, right? Like that is how it's supposed to.
Daniel, what's the finality in those transactions? Like, what's the finality time? I mean, you can't run something like Serum with multi-second finality times, right? And Arbitrum's got liquidity issues moving from Arbitrum back onto the main chain. Like, how do you deal with those issues?
We fixed it. Like with our bridge, we fixed it. And
okay, wait, I think we're avoiding the question. The question is, what is the number 2 coin and what is the number 3 coin at the end of 2022?
I think Ethereum is the number 2 coin, no discussion. Like there is not even a discussion here. Like I don't think that even Solana should even think that I want to be like bigger than Ethereum, or I want to be like what Solana should focus on is that I want to have more users than Ethereum. Like, you know, right now it doesn't have more users.
Number 2 coin is Ethereum. Number 3 coin?
Well, number 3 coin, I think is going to be Terra.
No, I mean, that doesn't count.
Okay. Number 4 coin. Number 4 coin?
You mean as a blockchain?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like Tether is Tether. I mean, Tether. They should take Tether out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think personally, I think Cosmos could be.
Wow. Okay.
Cosmos like Atom.
Yeah, Atom. Yeah.
Okay. But I don't agree with you on that one. Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't agree either. I mean, I don't really get the use case for Atom. Like, I don't get why you would use Atom security, because you don't need to use like Atom security to launch a Tendermint chain. And I just think like if you're gonna do that, why not just launch on Terra, where you have composability with way more dApps that are already live, and obviously it'll fill up at some point, but like still, why would you use like Atom? Like, it doesn't even have like smart contract capabilities. I don't know. I feel like Osmosis also like rugged a bunch of like Atom's like value accrual. Yeah, I'm super bullish Cosmos, but I don't see Atom.
Polkadot's got more chance of beating.
Could be also Polkadot, like either one Polkadot or one.
I think that's like a sleeper. There's like a lot of money going into that ecosystem, and a lot of smart people building stuff. I don't know.
I agree. I think Polkadot's got a way better chance than Atom at this point. Like this.
Okay, hold on. I want to go there, and we don't have much time. But Jose, what are your top? So Bitcoin remains number 1. I think we agree on that.
End of 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I don't think Bitcoin remains number 1 for forever, though, for sure.
No, I think after 2022 it doesn't anymore.
I agree.
I think Ethereum's kind of the new Bitcoin, right? It's like slow and like it has the good store of value thesis, like it has cash flows. Like I think Ethereum's like the new Bitcoin, and Bitcoin kind of doesn't have a narrative anymore at that point. You know, once Ethereum has a burn, it's like deflationary. It's also slow and moves slow and like predictable. I don't know. I feel like kind of all these scalable chains become like what Ethereum was to Bitcoin, and Ethereum becomes Bitcoin, and Bitcoin just kind of like has nothing happening other than brand, like no security model.
Wow.
So
next time I'm going to get you on with like a bunch of maxis. I'll get like Pomp, then Cormac. I'll get you on.
Get so much hate.
All right, so who's the number 2 coin next year?
I think probably still Ethereum. I think Solana does have a chance. I think probably still Ethereum, and then number 3. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Terra. I mean, I'm gonna go with Terra. It's my
Okay, I think I must say, I think I agree with you.
Solana has a lot of.
I don't know what
momentum.
happens. Yeah, I don't know what happens with ETH Layer 2, and I don't know if ETH Layer 2 is good enough to fix ETH. I think Solana overtakes Ethereum sometime next year, and I think Luna comes into number 3.
Yeah.
I mean.
And by the way, Ron, just to point out to everyone, like, and this is a very unpopular opinion, but for Solana to overtake Ethereum, it doesn't mean that Solana has to go up 9x or whatever it is. It means that Solana goes up enough that Ethereum people get spooked and Ethereum comes down. So you could see Ethereum back in the 2000s and Solana rising at the same time, and that's where you get a flippening. It doesn't have to be a 9x growth for Solana directly.
I think the one thing that we've all haven't spoken about is this rampant growth of UST and all these applications which are now locking up and using UST. And every time that happens, there's a massive burn of Luna. And I think that Luna network effect and that burn effect on Luna is something that you can't really deny right now. It's happening. I mean, the growth is exponential. So that, I mean, I must say, I do think whatever happens, Luna lands up in the number 3 spot. That's where my head is. All right, we've got 10 minutes left. Really, we've got 10 minutes left, and it's the last banter of the year. So just very quickly, top 3 themes that you guys are seeing for, let's say, for the first 6 months of next year. Because I think forecasting into the next 12 months is too far. What are the top 2 or 3 themes that you guys are seeing?
Well, I mean, I think the metaverse and Web 3.0, those two are the major themes going into 20.
But Vinny, Web 3.0 is very vague. Like, let's talk about
Okay,
Web
so
3.0.
let me break it down. Web 3.0 is, in my opinion, the notion that we do not have a single point of failure anywhere on the infrastructure, right? We're moving to a point where Amazon can't shut it down, DNS providers or whatever hosting providers can't shut anything down. You can have decentralized domain names, you have decentralized storage, decentralized compute. Basically, it's this notion that we have, effectively a cloud that doesn't have a single point of failure for global communications. Okay?
So it's storage. You're talking about storage. You're talking about storage. You're talking about computing power.
Yep.
You're talking about handshake, which is DNS. You're talking about that narrative. So render / AOS / Golem / Akash, Filecoin, and then decentralized money, which is, I guess, UST or DAI or MIM or one of those.
Yeah.
Or many of those.
So basically, for me, it's storage, compute, DNS, and identity. Those are the 4 things that we're focusing on. I think that Web 3.0 is going to be about. And I think we're going to see decentralized options basically that emerge that competes with Amazon, Google, in a very similar way that Web 2.0 basically unbundled Craigslist and banking products and that sort of thing. So it's borderless. And you basically see the digital services moving from, like, I call it politically based services. So operates within a certain border in this country. Like, you have to go to Amazon US or Amazon wherever, and you have to sign up for an account. And it moves away from that to sort of non-political. It's borderless. You go to Filecoin, you pay your full, and you get storage anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. So
cool.
Web 2.0 is going to create this world where we don't have political borders in technology.
Jose, what do you think? Top 2-3 narratives at Q1 and 2 next year?
Yeah, I think GameFi is definitely going to keep, I think, being a really strong narrative. We're seeing so many, like, top devs, people that built some of the legendary games of the last 2 decades that are shifting to crypto, doing play to earn models and doing it right from the get-go in a way where all the value is accruing to a DAO, where 60-70% of the value is gonna go to the gamers. Like, I think it's gonna be a really big trend. I think there's gonna be a massive, like, graveyard in winter at some point, because there's a lot of crap out there as well, and a lot of, like, pivots and, like, just people who did a crappy game and now they want to make it less crappy with play to earn and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot of that and ridiculous valuations, but I think there's going to be some really breakthrough games, and it's going to drive, I think, a massive adoption of crypto. I think it's going to be one of the things that drives the biggest adoption of crypto is actually, like, gaming. And then DAOs, I think, is another one where, like, I think DAOs is actually going to be driven by regulation. Like, regulation in a way is like a positive, like, pressuring force, because it forces people to stop doing things with multi-sigs on, like, private Telegram channels and to start actually decentralizing, because I think multi-sigs are going to start encompassing, like, some legal liability. Obviously, we're going to see more anons and McDonald's McDonald's hat, like, punks and stuff. But I think we're also going to see DAOs rise up so that people can actually organize in a decentralized way and in a more efficient way, where it's not like everyone's coming together to vote on everything. You have, like, specialization. You've got committees that are working, that have budgets, that are accountable to token owners. I do think that's going to take a while, but I think we're already seeing some really strong infrastructure there, and that's going to keep evolving. Those are 2. Third one, yeah, I think those two are good. Web3, I'm excited about identity as well. Like, people finding ways. We invested in a project called Sysmo, which is basically ZK proof attestations about yourself, so you can kind of, for instance, prove that you participated in the ETH crowd sale or whatever without actually revealing the wallet that did, or prove that you have held something for X amount of time, or prove that you did KYC.
We've been working on that for years at Civic.
Yeah, that's what I'm really
Daniel,
excited about that. I think that's like the future of identity is literally like NFTs that prove things about yourself, right? And that you collect together, that are badges. And then I think and that's where I think that Web3 UX, like people always talk about Web3 UX is clunky, it's crappy. I think like people are going to come to Web3 versus Web3 going to Web2. Like I think it's definitely clunky, some of this stuff, but there's also like magical experiences that you just can't have with Web2. Like a MetaMask sign-in, right? Like signing in with Ethereum. Like soon on your Delphi subscription, you're going to be able to just sign in with Ethereum. You don't need to give your email. You don't need to fill in your date of birth for the 1,000th time or your address. Just your MetaMask, right? And you can sign in and pay for your subscription. And then as NFTs like capture more and more metadata about yourself, that'll become like an identity layer that you can read so much stuff from, like your privacy preferences. Your followers could be on your NFT, right? And then social media pulls your followers from your NFT instead of owning your followers on the social media. So I think that's going to be really cool too.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Can I answer that quickly? So on the identity stuff, I mean, this is actually really, really interesting. You basically have identity-based NFTs where all the data sits there. So at Civic, we're doing this already, and you can use that identity to participate in token sales, etc. It's basically bot resistant. It's actually amazing what we can do with NFTs and identity right now. I'm super excited about that space.
Okay, Daniel, we've got 2 minutes left. Your top 3 themes for Q1 and 2 next year.
Decentralized option trading. I think it's well due. Like we must have a platform for that, and a good one, not some garbage. And this is demonstrated by retail coming to Robinhood, and 70% of all retail action is on options, because Gen Z understands leverage and understands that futures are not for them, and instead options is very good because it allows you to leverage and not get liquidated till the end of the option, right? Second, decentralized autonomous organization, and I will go in the opposite way of you, because I think that the most powerful will be the ones that cannot be controlled by regulation. So the ones that have multi-signers that are not from the US. That's the first thing.
They can still get you even if you're not in the US though.
It depends.
I mean, probably not you specifically with your.
It depends where the multi-signer live, and at the end of the day, I mean.
Okay, one more, guys. We are running out of time. One more.
Last one, I think cross-chain DeFi in general, DeFi that is capable of capturing all people, not just one type of person.
I think for me the narratives for Q1 and Q2, I think we're going to get an ETH layer 2 scaling boom that happens early in Q1. I think this narrative of decentralized social networks takes off sometime next year. Maybe Q1 and Q2. And then I think this whole decentralized metaverse. So Vinny calls it Web3. I call it a real decentralized metaverse, which is decentralized money, decentralized computing power, decentralized storage, decentralized servers. I think that for me is a narrative that really wakes up in Q1 next year. Guys, we are completely out of time. So I'm going to thank you guys again. Thank you for all your love and support this year. Thank you for joining us on our last banter of 2021. We'll see you guys next year. Vinny, thank you. Jose, thank you. Daniel, thank you.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to thank you guys for joining us every single Friday, every single week. I am going to be back here on Monday. And on Monday, I am going to be doing a 2022 trends with Ryan Selkis from Asari. It's going to be our last show of the year. It's going to be absolutely huge. Do we have 5,000 likes?
Only 3.5.
Only 3.5, so no Banter Bags winner on the show.
On Monday.
We'll do it on Monday. I'll see you guys again on Monday. Until then, trade well, guys. Before I let you guys go, remember that tonight there is another In the Game with Hustle. Hustle going to carry on with In the Games, right? Okay, so there is an In the Game. Make sure that you watch it. It is the #1 gaming alpha on the entire interwebs. It is, I guess, it's the best show out there. So make sure that you watch In the Game. See you guys later. Yeah, it's okay. It's good.